Are you pulling? Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, no more monkey, serious.
All right, well, let's call this April 1st, Winnebago County Human Services Board meeting to order. First order of business, is any public comments on the agenda? Any public comments on the agenda? Do you have anything else?
When we come to.
You're not public.
I'm not public, no.
You're one of the, you're the commit, you're under committee comments.
Okay. We're not public.
You can talk on the agenda.
It only took 2 years.
All right.
to figure it out, but that's-
No public comment then we'll go on to the program. SUD peer support. Bill, you want to?
Yeah, SUD, first of all, we tried to do no acronyms, so this presentation, just letting the presenters know to make sure if you use an acronym, you have to say what you're talking about. So this is substance use disorders.
Yeah.
Okay, what's
So
SUD?
this is what used to be something that was another acronym, AODA,
Oh.
which stood for alcohol and other drugs of abuse. But we don't use that term anymore. We use SUD now. So now you guys know that SUD is not SUDS, but it is substance abuse disorders. And we have with us today Amy Jeffers, who is our supervisor for the area, and Nicolette.
Okay, how does abuse get to be a U?
It's not abuse, it's
Substance
abuse.
use.
Now we call it use.
We call it
sorry.
use.
Not abuse.
So I might have said abuse, I apologize.
Okay, no, so that's sad.
So abuse is only one type of substance use. There's dependency and there's other ways that
So it's
substance use
use.
disorders.
Okay.
So Amy and Nicolette, and of course, this is all under Heather Faust Behavioral Health Division. So that's why Heather's here. So welcome, and you guys take it away.
All right, okay, so do you want to introduce yourselves, Amy and
Sure.
Nicolette, just so you know who is who?
I'm Amy, the supervisor for the clinical diversion team or the Connect program.
And I'm Nicolette Sokowski. I'm the peer support specialist for the clinical diversion team.
So I thought the easiest way to do it was we'll kind of go through every program we do, and then Nicolette will talk about how peer support is connected to each program. The first thing we do is we have a substance use counselor in the jail. She provides assessments and programming throughout the jail, for those who are incarcerated. She also helps with reintegration, so that they can get insurance or mental health services or substance use services set up prior to them getting released. And Nicolette also works in the jail.
I run an all recovery group in the jail as well, where I bring my lived experience and provide hope that there can be change and rehabilitation if they choose. So,
Substance use services, that is for individuals who want to get an assessment that they can come into our building and get the assessment done there. We also are starting groups for outpatient services as well as individual services. Talk about what people who might just be coming through.
I initially would meet with them if one of them are referred to me, and then I just offer any support. So I'll give them my card, which has my cell phone on it. They can contact me. We can meet up and have coffee and talk about what they're struggling with. I'll provide some of the tools that worked for my recovery, my sustainable recovery, and then I definitely shine the light on therapy because that's on therapy, which is a huge component that helps sustainable recovery.
We don't use peer support for teen court. Teen court is for adolescents from the age of 12 to 17 who might have gotten a ticket. Instead of having to pay the fine, they can go through a program that is run by their peers. The only person who's not a peer is the judge, and it's usually somebody from the district attorney's office or a judge themselves or whoever who will do that. We don't do peer support for that. A new program that officially starts as of today is mental health court. We're gonna start out with 2 people in the program and kind of see how it goes from there. Nicolette will be helping out with that. She'll be doing something similar to what she does with drug court, who are for people who have offenses that could lead them to prison. And this is an alternative to help them get on the right track and stay sober. And
Could I ask, what is mental health court?
it's for people. Heather, do you want to maybe explain?
So, so mental health court, the idea of it is similar to drug court, but it's for individuals that the main concern is a mental health diagnosis.
So do you have cancer court and heart attack court? Well, why would you have mental health? I mean, why would you send people with, call it court for people with a mental illness?
So that's exactly the point of it, is that there are individuals, because of their mental health concerns and they aren't doing well psychiatrically, there sometimes is a crime committed or a charge. And the district attorney's office then gets kind of stuck in that place of, do we have to charge this individual who we know didn't make this choice intentionally?
There's always a charge involved. It's
There-
not just people with mental illness.
So most counties do it after charge, like a post sentence. What we're going to be trying to do is as a diversion instead. So if an individual can be successful in the program, then the charge will go away versus the, so it'll be a
Again,
diversion.
mental health court is only for those people suffering from some sort of mental illness who have been charged with some sort of crime or misdemeanor.
A medium to low level offense. Or I'm sorry, a medium to high level
High level
offense.
So let's back up a little bit. I think, just to give you guys a bigger picture of each county has a variety of mental health and substance use support services. Okay, we can determine the breadth of that. We can make it as simple as, hey, you have to come in to an office to see a substance use counselor and get traditional therapy, and then that's it. But we have decided as a county, going back to even before I got here, that the judges, the DA, the county board, before you guys were even on it, basically made a decision that they wanted to try to intervene with people with mental health issues and substance use issues when they would interact with the legal system, and try to divert those folks from being more involved with the legal system by getting diverted to some sort of treatment and follow-up. So this was a decision that was made back in the early 2000s.
So, now I'm getting all conflicted here.
Okay,
So they've been already charged.
No, not
so
necessarily.
these are people that would be,
This is where
Yeah.
I think some of the,
so the
They've been
DA,
arrested.
so the DA's office,
okay, they've been arrested.
they've been arrested.
We've arrested Ralph,
Right.
and now we don't know what to do with him because he might have a little bit of a problem.
And let's say, in this case, the DA knows that Ralph has, done something. They've gotten a report and a recommendation from the sheriff's department or local law enforcement to charge Ralph. To charge,
Okay, to charge Ralph.
to charge him with, I don't know, possession of marijuana, drunk driving, although
Shoplifting,
drunk driving has
theft,
its own kind of area now. But maybe some possession of some substance, whatever. And, that basically now the district attorney is like, well, maybe he meets with Ralph and Ralph says, yeah, I got a problem. And maybe the DA says, maybe I'll try some things before we get to court. Are you willing to go to treatment? Are you willing to do X, Y, and Z? Or maybe Ralph's in jail while awaiting some next process in the court, right? And so then it's another opportunity where, again, maybe the district attorney's office is interesting in doing something different. Now, also the judges were telling the DA back in 2005 that they didn't want to see so many folks with these kind of addictive things, that probably the crime was related to their addiction, if I can kind of create a context here. So that maybe they did some theft, but maybe it was in support of their habit as opposed to their just.
So who decides what is their habit?
Okay, so who decides is basically the judge says to the DA, or the DA says, let's get some evaluation, let's get some ideas about where this guy's problem is.
But he hasn't been to court yet.
He might not have been to court yet, or he might have been probable cause, but still awaiting something else, or whatever they call their early court processes. Okay, so anyway, so in this county, they said, okay, let's create these kinds of opportunities for people to get diverted. So one would be to go to treatment, one would be to go to something called a drug court, something called the mental health court, something called the teen court, something called safe streets, something called a whole bunch of things that we've called different things. And then if everybody agrees, the person then voluntarily agrees, I will do this and I agree to follow this. And if I'm successful, then I don't have to have a record. I don't have to go to court. I don't have to, I don't have to go to jail. Okay. There's some other couple of programs called 24/7 alcohol and 24/7 drug, which we haven't talked about yet, which are people that agreed to come in and do a daily assessment of their non-use in exchange for, again, for a period of time, not going to court or not having it be on my record. So all of these things were kind of joint programs that were created because the judges, the DA's office, and public defenders and human services and probation and parole all agreed that we will do these sorts of programs for select people. And we are kind of the boots on the ground. So where we fit in on this is that we don't necessarily make recommendations to them. We basically get told by those referents, these people are in your court, whether that's the court orders it or whether the DA says, let's go. But somebody tells us, these are the people you're gonna work with. This is how we want you to work with them. You work with them. If they follow the rules and you get them the services they need, then they then send that report back to us. We'll take care of it. If they don't comply, then send it back to us and we'll take them the traditional route.
So it's not really court, it's a program.
It's a, yeah.
It's, well, some of the courts that we were just referring to look like court hearings, but kind of different in the same way. So that there's a court hearing, but what happens is a lot of people talk about their treatment as opposed to just the typical court that you would be aware of, like traffic court. Traffic court isn't like, talk to the guy about why he was speeding, right? I mean, it's basically like, here's, you were speeding, this is how much you're gonna be fined. Do you have an excuse? Do you want to challenge that? That's traffic court in a nutshell. There's not a lot of discussion about why you were speeding, how to resolve it.
Right, most of these people are probably, because we've always heard, and the sheriff's always told us, we have a lot of mentally ill people in our jails that probably shouldn't be there because of low time crime. You know, like I say, theft, like Bill said, theft related to their disease, you know, drugs or whatever. So they're sitting in jail, haven't been convicted yet, they've been arrested, they've been sitting in jail. And should they be really in jail or could they be somewhere in treatment? Or in my 34 years out of Winnebago mental health, they would send them out to Winnebago and it's kind of like, if this person and they're coming as a forensic, which means they've been arrested, but they haven't been convicted. They send them out to us and they say, he was picked up for theft or, you know, some misdemeanor. And kind of like, does this person need to be locked up? He's got, definitely has a mentally ill problem, you know. Can we divert him to a different program so he can get
So,
some
so
help?
on the mental health.
That's
court
what it
issue,
is. That's
And
what
I know they're gonna get more into it. They're gonna give you the details about each one of the
Right.
programs. That's what they're doing today. But just so you know, that the mental health court program is extremely new and was generated because judges and the DA's office want this option.
Yeah.
Okay, these are not things that we ever go and say, hey, we want, human services is not driving this process. We are the boots on the ground to make it happen once other players decide they want this. So the judges and the DA want to try this, and what we got them to agree to is to start small. Because we don't know whether mental health court is going to be an important additional court or whether it's unnecessary because we have so many other ways right now of helping people who are mentally ill.
Just to
in the
lock them
jail
up because of mental
already.
ill.
But we're gonna try it out. And so that's why when Amy was talking about the mental health court, it's brand new. You know,
I
it's,
just don't think that's a good name. It really seems
Well, that's
insulting,
the name that-
dismissive.
the counties give it. So we're just gotta be.
But that's what their illness is, so that's what.
Yeah, but,
It's
so
referred
you
to
got
as-
cancer. Do you want to go to cancer court?
Well, no, not the same.
It's
not the
an
same.
illness.
No, it's
That's
not
not
the same.
illegal.
Not the same.
Mental illness isn't illegal either.
Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be talking, but if it causes something, you're innocent. And I don't want to, I hear you.
Answer, I steal some marijuana so I can get over chemotherapy that I've committed a crime.
So we, in Wisconsin, drug court is called drug court because
Then you might be a drug
it
court.
involves people who are battling with their drug condition, okay? And mental health court is mental health court because it involves people who are struggling with their recovery and also got convicted of, or are in the process of being convicted of a crime related to that mental illness. But the court recognizes that maybe they want to try a different kind of process than the traditional, just convict you of a crime and then send you for treatment. They're trying to actually have people get treatment and then avoid getting convicted of that crime. That's why it's different.
This
I'm
is something,
the only person who finds a problem with this, so
Well, but this is-
I'll stop.
but this is something that's brand new. I mean, nothing says that you can't change it down the road, but let's get started with this first. And that's
It's
what
just a name that is
Right.
given in every county where they're trying.
every county, we're not the only one.
Well, there are plenty of names that have been given to people that are now, you can't use them on the radio or television. They're not
Right.
names anybody should say.
But what we're saying is every county is calling it mental health court, not just us.
I'll let it go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm opposite.
And if I could say something, like mental health disorder is actually the destigmatized terminology, whereas like it used to be called mental illness. So mental health is actually like a positive connotation. So we're actually fighting the good fight by having it be called mental health court rather than mental illness.
I think it's the court part that kind of throws people off.
And I think the court part comes because Judge Gibbs will oversee mental health court and Judge Caberline oversees drug court. So I'm thinking that might be where the court part comes in.
Okay.
Katie, you have a question?
Yes, I do. One of the things that I think might be confusing is that we know that alcoholism is a disease. Is drug addiction now defined as a disease?
Yes.
But it always has, yeah.
And I understand it probably always has been, but you know, alcoholism back in the 60s wasn't something that one identified as a disease. This is now defined as a disease. And I think that that's something that we need to make sure we address because there are any number of people who say this is a choice.
Right. But the health systems have recognized alcohol and
And
other drug
As it-
use disorders, because we don't call them, just abuse is a level of a disorder. It's not actually its own disorder anymore. They've kind of redefined it. So it's substance use disorders,
Okay.
just like you would have, just like any other.
So it incorporates a large category.
Right, right. And so it is a health, it's a disease, it's a health condition that needs to be treated. Just like any other health conditions. There's something called parity that happened, back, I don't know how long, a decade ago, where the federal government recognizes mental health and substance use disorders on par with other health conditions. Anyway.
Becky, you have one quick?
I just wanted to add what I think is a dual purpose of this mental health court. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but the purpose is to get folks help who are ready to enter treatment and get help and to avoid a criminal record. And through that process of getting help and to sustainable recovery, avoiding the criminal record that follows you for the rest of your life, whether for every time you apply for a job, nope, can't get a job because you have this on your record. So the purpose is really twofold. Am I correct in saying
Yes.
that?
So they can be integrated back into society and still have like a livable wage or, work somewhere, have a chance at a good life
Job,
after,
place to live.
yes.
And the programs we're talking about today are not mandated by the state to us. So most of the stuff that we do is mandated through a contract with the state to us. It says you must do the following set of programs. So the alternative programs here, which we put under the umbrella word of Connect, is basically all of these programs are not mandated by the state. They were actually created by the court system, the DAs, and us to basically try to do something additionally that would be supportive of the kind of community.
So how does, who decides who goes to this court? Who decides?
The DA and the judges.
Public defender's also involved
And
in
the
the
public
decision.
Okay, so somebody from the legal system
The
has
legal
to come
system
up.
has to make the referrals.
Right.
All right.
Chris, did you have some?
I was basically gonna say what Becky said.
Okay,
I mean, a record can prevent you from getting housing for years and years and years, you know.
The other reason that this happened back in 2005 was because at the time, the jail capacity was growing and growing and growing, and there was a limited amount of space. The county had just built a new jail. And they were already speculating that they would have to build another jail, much bigger, by whatever, 2010 or 2015 or whatever. And so there was a lot of impetus back in 2005 to kind of, any ideas on how to reduce the amount of people ending up in jail. Was any and all things were being considered. So they were doing a bunch of different things, but our piece of it was the drug court, safe streets. Those were the two original programs. And then they morphed into these other things that they're gonna continue to. And I think today is just to kind of talk to you about, as we're asked to do the programming for these courts, what does it involve? Who does it involve? And where, and what's going on with them? And what do we kind of do in each of those pieces? Yeah.
I was just gonna interject too, so there's a drug court graduation coming up on April 11th at 10 a.m. at the courthouse. So Amy, I don't know if you were gonna share that or not, but that's an option too, to see the success. You get to hear the story of how someone started off in the program, and then you get to see where they're at right now in their accomplishments. How many graduates do we have this time?
There are two this time, then 3 in May,
What time is that?
10 a.m.
10
Judge
a.m.
Gabriel.
Those are open for anybody that would like to attend the graduation.
No, it's not a question, just a comment again, from experience, when you said 2005, about 20 years ago, my son had some problems. Marijuana, getting in trouble with that, and at that time, they didn't have any of these. And I remember sitting in front of Judge Wolf, who was the one I think that created one of them, and saying, this is ridiculous. All you do is keep finding him, putting him back in jail, and he gets back out again. Why aren't you guys giving him treatment? And at that time, we don't do anything like that. We don't do anything like that. So after that, it was kind of good because I've gone to this court with you guys and saw graduates 2 or 3 times. And it's great because they have the opportunity. And you see a lot of stuff because it's a lot deeper than this. I mean, I think when I went to the last one, I felt bad because the daughter was graduating and she's worried about her 2 kids, but grandma and her aunt were in the same program where drug problems, so it goes through. So to me, I felt bad, not for those grads, I felt bad for the 2 kids because from what I could see, it's gonna travel. So now by seeing these stuff, you do create that, people feel that. And now when you're talking on the mental health, what I'm looking at there is that people are going to court and you can just throw them away, put them in jail and forget them, but that doesn't solve them unless they go to you for help. They're not gonna get help. So by this program, and I think most of them are created by judges, that we just can't keep throwing the key away, that they need some treatment. And they have marijuana, they have drugs. It's not just that, there's more to it than that. And mental health, that's why I said it's gotta be tough for you guys to decide, is it the drugs, is it the marijuana, or is it mental health that's getting them to do that? So it's kind of a fine line to which way you put them. But I think it's great that you're having something like this and being new, that you just don't put them in jail and throw away the key, because that doesn't solve anything. And I think these are good, and I've seen it from the drug program success. When I see it, I just can't, I wish I had it with my kid. He straightened up on its own, but there was nothing, just fines after fines after fines in jail, and he didn't learn a thing. And I was really mad. I remember going to court and watching other kids doing the same thing and other adults throwing away the key. So I think it's a great program. What you're talking about is great. And it's, I know it's got that court thing on it, but it's kind of like giving them a second chance to bring out what's wrong. And I think even the drug one, they kind of put them through examination, the judge and the district, and then they decide, well, it's not one we're gonna just put them in jail. There's a lot more to it, and we'd like to have, refer them to you guys, right? Is that kind of?
No, you're right.
So that's what I think that's great, because they didn't have it before, and, you know, I think it's great that you kind of zero in and try to help people. So that's all I just want to make, and I want to hear the presentation. I know people-
Let's go on with the presentation.
Sorry.
Yeah, all the programs we do under the Connect space, the goal is to keep them out of jail. Trying to deter them so that they are, people who are out in the community, getting jobs, houses, you know, improving their life without continuing to go into jail. So drug court, we touched on, Nicolette does a lot with the drug court people.
Yeah, so I facilitate the mentor group, which is something that they're required to do as part of their program. They have two, like one in the morning and one in the evening. So if they do have jobs, which is also a requirement, that they can make it. And we go through like almost like a problem solving on like issues that they're coming up with. And then again, bringing tools that will help them along the way to like, so like budgeting, or let's say they have issues with like childcare or getting their children back, you know, they're trying to do all of these things and get their life back on track. So I'm here to help them problem solve some of those. And we do teachings for that. And they even, when in their fourth phase, they get an opportunity to teach the class too, so that they can help support their fellow peers. So it's a really great program.
The next two, we don't really have, they're offered peer support services if they would like them, but a lot of them don't get connected with the peer support side. The first one is the DHS diversions. We work with the DA's office. The DA's office offers individuals diversions that will keep them out of jail or get the offense off their records. So say it's a theft or something like that. If they go through a 9-month diversion program with us, where we help them with their substance use or their mental health or employment or getting their kids back or whatever it might be that they need, if they successfully complete that offense will be off their record. So just trying to keep them, you know, so it's not so hard to get a job and employment and all that stuff at the end. We have a Safe Streets resource team. That's just for anyone who is a Winnebago County resident that might walk through our doors and need assistance. One of us will sit down with them and help them find whatever it is they're looking for, helping them get set up with insurance or housing or whatever.
And those also are direct law enforcement referrals as well. So if an officer comes into contact with an individual and they're like, I think they could use some additional supports or have some other unmet needs, they can also make those referrals to our programming. So you don't have to necessarily then go through the courts to be able to get.
And then 24/7 alcohol and drug, we took over alcohol roughly 2 years ago and drug probably 2.5 years ago. Those were under the sheriff's department. They decided to hand them over to us, and we do a needs assessment with them, try to get them into at least an assessment done with them and into treatment if they need or whatever it might be. And that 24/7 alcohol and drug is a bond condition. So if somebody gets an offense that's alcohol or drug related, they will get that. The court commissioner will order one of those programs for them. If it's alcohol, they have to blow into a breathalyzer 4 times a day. And then if it's drug, they have to test every other day for a UA test. And we've seen some pretty good success with us taking it over, making sure we're encompassing all of that with them. So that they're not just feeling like it's just another punishment for them. So to say.
UA is urine analysis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the drug folks have to do urine analysis every other day.
Mhm.
And the breathalyzer is basically if you're blow into it, it basically detects whether you have alcohol in your system or not. So that's 4 times a day.
Yeah.
4 times a day. So this was all started in the sheriff's department originally, but then it got kind of burdensome for them. So then they asked us, would we take over having all the people come in, do the breathalyzers, or there's units, I think, that go out to their homes. Don't they have some units at their homes too?
They have the handheld device.
A handheld device. So, but we have to do all the monitoring of that and the reporting of that. And so there's all these levels. It's like some of it, our stuff is treatment, but some of our stuff is like doing all of these tasks with some of these folks and be monitoring the equipment. And so we got a whole variety of things that go along with making these programs work, and then reporting to the DA what's going on with all these cases, right?
Yes. In the 24/7 alcohol and drug, it's more about meeting them where they're at, because a lot of people aren't identifying that maybe their drug use or alcohol use has caused them issues in their life. So we're just trying to meet them where they're at and trying to help them figure out what would be a positive next step to get them going in the right direction. Nicolette does work with them, some of those individuals once in a while.
Yeah, if the case managers feel like there's a benefit for extra support, then they'll refer them to me and, you know, they have the option. It's not quite required for the 24/7 drug and alcohol. But if I'm seeing an extra need, then I can communicate it with them and they can do a professional, like a proper assessment on extra things, or like some of the people don't even realize all of benefits that human services provides for them. So like, again, with the lived experience, it's like, well, I went to the human services and they helped me with this. You know, I was a single mom when I was starting to get sober. So I share that story with them. That gives them, I don't know, like the idea to come to seek the help that they need, that you guys are on their side in that kind of thing.
One of the neatest things about having peer support and watching what Nicolette does is that the individuals, when they get into a better place in their lives where they can do, you know, feel like they can maybe look into getting a different path for employment or all that, a lot of them want to be peer support specialists. And so that's pretty neat to see. Yeah.
This is a relatively new area in the state of Wisconsin, that people who are recovering from either substance use or mental illness can go to a training to become a certified peer support specialist. And counties are encouraged to hire them to be part of the service group. And so we have done that, of course. Nicolette is one of our peer support specialists.
And Nicolette also is that symbol of hope for a lot of the individuals that we work with, because she can say, I was in your shoes once. I get it. I know how hard it is. I know how difficult it is. And now look at me. Like, so I think that that's, Nicolette doesn't maybe say that often, but like she can say the like, I get it part.
Yeah.
And then seeing where she's at now. She works for the county, she's giving back to the community.
Yeah, she's a safe place for them because some people have, you know, their hesitance with counselors or therapists and all that, and talking to a peer really helps, so.
When I look at overall numbers, we have over 2,000 people a year, between 2,000 and 3,000 people a year who are working with us on substance use disorder related activities. So that's quite a few.
Are they recovering? The 3,000, the 3,000?
Are they getting better?
We,
Or what? What do you mean?
what,
Are they recovering? Yes, they're, well, I mean.
they are the peer supporters, I think is my question.
They are I'm talking about all the people in Winnebago County who are involved with us to some extent related to substance abuse. I think the last numbers were at least two. It fluctuates between 2,000 and 3,000-ish people per year, but just with that alone. Now, if there's a combo of folks that are mental health and substance abuse, that's a greater number, and then just mental health alone is 5,000 plus. So you've got between substance use and mental illness, you're talking about 10,000 or so folks a year that we're
And they're
serving.
volunteers?
These are the folks that we're serving. These are the.
Okay,
serving the
okay,
public
super,
That we're,
Thank you.
that we're serving.
okay.
Yeah, our staff are, I think in a whole Connect program is about 10.
Yeah.
About 10. So that whole array that we're just talking about today is about 10.
Do we get any funding for that next program?
Not very much, unfortunately, because there's no system really, unless they fall under traditional treatment where we can bill for them, or if they're under crisis, we could potentially bill some crisis, but it's not like the other programs that we have to kind of have the funding for it, which is why the county outlaid in 2005, Winnebago County put almost $500,000 in levy toward it. We have continued that, and it's only grown since then. And now the program is like well over $1 million. And some of the opioid treatment, or some of the opioid funds are also coming in to pay for that as
Yeah,
We also utilize grants as we can as well, to help pay for some areas. And then like Bill said, we bill where we can. So. The mental health court, the participants, granted, we haven't had anybody actually enrolled yet, but our goal also is to have them through our, comprehensive community support services program, which then we get reimbursed for the work.
We're trying to, the short answer is, Becky, we're trying to make it billable and wherever we can, but there's definitely a gap, which every county exec has been aware of, and all county boards have made aware of, as we've gone along, is that it's not a fully funded area. So we have to have levy, also because it's also not mandated.
Yes,
So-
but we would either have to pay for them to be in jail, which was the old way.
Right,
Or pay for this.
right.
And this is obviously less expensive and better for the individual. And the costs continue to increase because the need increases.
And like many things that we've created, we pay more at first upfront because we hope that that resolves the problem and then we don't continue to pay as the problems persist or get greater. Hopefully we can address it now in a more intense way. It's gonna cost more now, but hopefully it costs less in the future because we're not dealing with the same folks. Because they're now in recovery and they're now, engaged in employment and, they're a productive member of it. So I think that's generally how, we do track a little bit past our service array. That's something we're gonna have to get better at though, is like, we need to do, post review a year out, 2 years out, and see if we can find people and are they doing well. And the other thing is we can see whether or not they're getting back involved with the legal system, because there's a system that can tell us, is this a person that's, was in the same position 2 years ago, because now they have a new charge. So we can do that kind of pre-test, post-test kind of work, because we can see if they're back in the system with the same issues, well then, they're not successfully recovering.
I just think it's a real success story, Nicolette, and everybody.
Yeah, I
It's
think-
really nice to see that's working. Good job.
Okay, so, you said other counties are doing, how long have they been doing it? Or is this brand new for the other counties as well?
It's more brand new for the other counties. The other counties have adopted drug courts.
Okay,
Very few have adopted mental health courts.
Okay.
Only a few have teen courts. Our way of doing, safe streets and this other ancillary stuff, the way we're doing it, even fewer still. And not to the degree that we're doing. So we tried to get a grant at the beginning in 2005 from the state, and they turned us down. And so at the time, the county board here said, we don't care whether they turned us down, we're gonna do it anyway. And that's kind of how the county invested the money at the beginning, was because there was just a great, and it was Judge Wolt, and it was a number of other folks at the time that basically said, we need to have some alternatives. I don't want to keep sending people to jail, because this isn't working. And so that's kind of when it started. So I think we're more cutting edge. I wouldn't say that we're the only programs now. I mean, Milwaukee County has programs like this. Dane County has programs, but in terms of even smaller counties, outside of Dane and Milwaukee, we're probably some of the first ones to do a lot of this.
Yeah, and the main thing is to divert these people instead of putting them in jail. We have.
no, I understand that. I guess I was
Because-
just curious about who else was doing this. And
Right,
if we're on the cutting edge, one
Well,
of the few.
today now there's around the state, there's probably 20 different drug courts. There's, mental health courts, there's maybe 3 to 5.
So there is no history for this particular substance use recovery program.
No.
Okay. All right, that answers my question.
If we're among the first 3 to 5,
Mental health court?
yeah,
Yeah.
then why can't we be the leaders and call this mental health diversion or some other better name than court?
Court, well,
For
The
people?
judge.
because the judge,
because they're still going to court.
judges have created.
Right, the judges court.
Is a court diversion, but it's still a court, but it's not the traditional.
All right.
Chris,
if you ever go to, Ralph has gone to 3 of them now, the graduation, there's one on the 11th. If you want to see what drug court kind of, at least at the end of it, when somebody's graduating looks like, go to the one on the 11th. It's at the courthouse, but it's in a courtroom,
In the courtroom.
but it doesn't function at all
What
like
floor is
a
it on?
traditional court.
Second, he's on the second floor.
One to the left.
Yes.
As you,
It's much more treatment oriented and treatment focused for the legal system. It's still the legal system, but it has definitely a treatment recovery focus to it. And it's hard to explain to somebody, because I go to, if you go to court, you're thinking, okay, the judge is gonna be up there, there's gonna be attorneys, there's gonna be a bunch of witnesses, there's gonna be a jury. Somebody's gonna get some kind of a consequence at the end of it. That, other than it's in that courtroom, the process looks entirely different. It looks more personally concerned, treatment focused, recovery focused, individuals telling their stories, judges not behaving traditionally the way they behave. It's very different. It's a very different process. So people want to be in that type of, not, they choose whether or not to be there. They don't have to accept this as
It's their option, they choose.
it's their option.
And if you actually want to see that part of it, that actually starts at 9. And then the graduation is at 10. So if you want to actually see like what the participants actually go through and how the judge interacts with them, then I would encourage you to go at 9, because then you can actually see how each week works. The 10 o'clock one is the celebration of someone making it through the whole entire duration.
I think you might feel, Karen, better about it if you saw. It might not be as, I know it's stressing right now for you, but I think.
there's
Thank you.
between drug court and mental health court too, is judge court will be after there's been a charge that was sentenced. So the sentencing is in the drug court. Mental health court would be before that process. So the drug court is, look somebody up on CCAP, you can see that they attended their hearing and no concerns. With mental health court, there won't be anything on CCAP, any updates on there. That would just be in our record.
And we can let you know of other ones too, if you can't make this one.
Okay.
We'll let you know about some others.
Yeah, in May, there's a
May 18th, that's a Thursday, that's what it is. For the graduation, and I think there's 3 in that one.
So the one's on the 11th of April, and the other one is on the 18th of
May
May.
18th.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a Thursday, yes.
Chris,
May 6th. Oh, is it 16th?
16?
Yeah. Yep.
16?
May 16th, sorry.
Amy and Nicolette, I was just wondering, is there a part for family members? Like, the traditional AA and Al-Anon, do you offer support for family members? Helping them through this individual? Or their whatever they're dealing with?
We would like, what I usually would do if I'm interacting with someone, with a peer, I suggest those things.
Okay.
And if they would like someone to come with them, I offer that as well. Like, sometimes it's hard to go into the rooms initially. So if they want someone to come alongside them, then I definitely encourage that, because even though I'm a person in long-term recovery, I also am an Al-Anon participant as well. So, yeah, definitely, we don't have, they have parent peers. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about. So I just took the certificate, the state certification, for the peer support. But they do have it.
And the rest of the case managers, they talk to the families a lot when their loved ones are going through this process, and they will direct them in the right direction or whatever they might need to. So we make sure the family is also getting the help they need. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this stuff is ever evolving. I guess that's what I would say is that it's not static. There is not a rule book. We kind of trial and error a lot of different things. We improve the programs quite a lot. So mental health is like brand new, just as starting out. So it's going to go through probably some changes throughout the course of this year. And we just wanted it to start, the judges wanted it to start. We were, I will tell you, just in transparency, I was a little concerned about it because I wasn't sure how this is gonna work compared to court. Because people that are dealing with mental illness don't necessarily respond the same way that people who are wanting to recover from an addiction are highly motivated, right? Because, I mean, they say, yeah, I want to stop. I want to get on with my life. A person who has mental illness is struggling with things that they don't necessarily control totally, going on. So I'm not sure how our mental health court may not progress the same way as drug court. And so that's why these three gals here know that very well. And that's why we said, we got to start slow because we got to see how this is going to work. And we got to build this program. And we might have to build it somewhat differently than we did with drug court as we go along, based on how the participants react to this. Maybe it'll be helpful, maybe it won't be. You know, and it isn't the sum total of what we're doing with people who have mental illness in jails. I mean, we're identifying them, we're doing service with them in the jails, and we're doing services with them prior to going to jail already, just under a different umbrella, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't the only way we're serving people with mental illness in the legal system.
Yeah, go ahead. I guess I had a couple questions, statement. If you haven't gone, it's a tearjerker. Because it starts out, I went to 5 graduations and 2 3s, I think it was. It's really good. They come with their peer, and they probably have a sponsor that was with them, they spend with, and they talk about it. And it's really, like I was said before, it goes through like a whole family, you can see what happens. And then they have to go through a ton of stuff. I mean, tests, 400 and some tests for, you know, I mean, they don't just get it. They have to do a lot of work to get it in a period of 9 months or 7 months. So it's good to hear all that story. And it's worth going because you really see the other side and how this really does help the people. The other question, I have a couple, but with that one, remember I said before, I always worried progression because that's one thing I got out of it was either, I think the one I went to was, grandma and mom are having troubles. Dad does, but he didn't want any part of it, so he stayed home. And then they're all upset and crying, but I felt bad for the 2 children there. They're all crying upset. And I know we're doing all this for that, but the question comes to mind is, how do we get to those 2 kids? Because what I could see to me was like, it's coming and they're gonna get exposed to it. And do we do anything or is it just kind of stop there?
Jen Delpas, who is the case manager for drug court, she does a great job encouraging the parents, so the participants of drug court, who, you know, the children's parents, to get the children into therapy or counseling or whatever it might be, just so that they can kind of work through that stuff. So, yeah.
Because I guess I was just worried, like, it just seems like it's gonna happen again. This isn't gonna end, you know?
And the kids will get engaged, in recovery events and all that with their parents. So, yeah.
Good.
Jen understands that the kids need that extra support too. Yeah.
The other question I had is, I was at legislation just recently and Mike Shara, one of our representatives, said they just passed the bill. There's a lot of people that are getting out of jail are all done. It was hard for them to get transportation, to go to get a license here, to get a bank account here, because all they have to do all that. And they passed the bill where they're gonna create one spot that has everything. Just what they said, you know, they have funding for it. So it's gonna be a place that you can get your license renewed here, you can get your job applications filled out, you can get all your help. Is it gonna have some of the continual help there? Did they talk to you about that? I just heard about it and I thought about it. Cause you know, I mean, that's gonna be again, another spot, so how to keep them up on that.
And that's one of the things that our case managers will do. So our counselor that we have in the jail will help kind of get some of those things lined up. And then, we'll help hook them up with one of our case managers who will help assist with some of those things as well, because you're right, it's very tricky. Once you get out, to be able to make sure you're not falling back into the same habits or sometimes even with the same people. And that's who you have for support is maybe your mom, but your mom is the reason you have your addiction because that's the first person that you use with.
Cause they said that's a lot of things happen is that once they get out, don't have a car, they can't go get the job, can't fill out applications. They gotta get a bank account, but they can't get there, they can't, you know, so this state decided to do something, to keep in one spot. And just signed it probably a week ago, so that's kind of interesting, but it'd be nice to have something nearby so they can get their treatment or help that way too.
And that's kind of what the diversion team does too, like the caseworkers can get them like a bus pass or whatnot. I can give them rides to like, they need to go to the DMV, I can get them a ride over there. So like, that's what peer support does, as well as we essentially remove the barriers to having them continue going forward. So, I mean, this is excellent because like the DMV, if they're gonna have something all encompassed that way, that's great, but essentially that's what the clinical diversion team does, is we have all these answers within human services, we can point them in the right direction. Yeah, so.
It's a
Come
hard
up
pill to
with
get.
like, and with economic support or, Beth, if there's some like elderly benefit needs or whatever else, so it's helpful to have that link to then the rest of the programming, or somebody's involved with like child welfare division, will work with them as well, and how do we work together to support this family unit?
The
The
last
city
one.
transit is gonna start going to the DMV if you let them know ahead of time.
Good.
They won't stop there on every single trip, but it's a certain route that if you let them know ahead of time, they will take you, part of their new transit proposal.
But that was our goal, two budgets ago, when we put the AODA counselor in the jail and the peer support in the jail, because that's what was happening now. When their time was up, they opened up doors and said, here you go. Now at least we have somebody in there that will, before they go out that door, let's get this lined up, this lined up, this lined up, so you don't fail when you get out there. But we fought for quite a few years on that, but we finally got into
Well, that's
budget,
good
2
that
budgets ago.
people need to know that we have that. I mean, a lot of people
Right.
have no idea what we have and don't have. And the last question, I spent a lot of time at Father Carter's on Sunday, and I was talking to the pastor there. They said the last 2 weeks, it's been just unbelievable amount of people that are looking for help. I didn't know if you noticed anything like that. They said just, I don't know if it's they're coming from other counties because we need more services. But he said just more people, just you have to turn people away. You can't take them all, so many.
Yeah.
Have you noticing that too?
Where we're located is in the Oregon King building right across from the courthouse, so Salvation Army is right across the street, so we will get people at least 2 or 3, just drop-ins a day, just kind of looking for things and all that, and yeah, you're right, in the past couple of weeks, we've had a few, yeah, that too, changes seasons.
Thanks, appreciate your answer. Appreciate what you do. I mean, that's cool stuff.
Quick comment. Yeah, I have been speaking with people in my community, and they say that doesn't happen in my neighborhood. It doesn't happen in my neighborhood. Wait a minute. No, that doesn't happen in my neighborhood. And it really is very interesting to say, become aware of what happens in your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Good update.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on. Moving on then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Approve the minutes of the March 4th, 2024 Human Services Board meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the March 4th.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Number 4, accept minutes of the March 11th, 2024 ADRT meeting.
Okay, hold on. What is ADRC?
Aging and
Aging and Disability Resource
Okay,
Center.
you techno speaking, and he
I
said
know.
we were gonna do that anymore.
Yep, Aging and Disability Resource Center. That meeting on, and the February 20th of the Specialized Transportation Council meeting.
I move to accept the minutes from March 11th.
I'll second that.
Move was made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it.
Couple meetings ago, I asked, I didn't know what that was. He told me he'd started it. So I didn't have.
It's a-
It was his fault.
Yeah, the ADRT is a subcommittee on the human services. It's under human services.
I knew it
And
was
Beth-
under
and
human
Beth-
services, but I didn't know what ADRC was.
Yep.
we're gonna do our best.
Yeah.
Because
Not use them.
I can techno bar law enforcement, flying and kitchen. Now, where do you want to start?
And I'm always, you know, we need to keep policing ourselves that we got.
Yeah, we'll remember not to use, yeah. That's good. All right, then inpatient institutional placement stats, Bill.
Okay, so this is in your packet. I don't know if it's single sheet this month or, is it front and back or you have
No,
the
it's
single sheet?
single sheet.
Okay, so it's single sheets this month. And these are very familiar graphs. Basically, it's our high cost placement numbers and we give them to you so that you can kind of see what the trends are as we're looking at the trends. So page one, starts with our, child welfare, CW stands for Child Welfare Division, Juvenile Corrections, and, that means juvenile prison. Basically where kids sometimes get sent for a year at a time. And that's Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake schools for girls.
Oh, I heard something on the news last night or today that they're trying to build a new school? The state is?
Yeah, so, in 2015, so I'll give you a background on that. In 2015, the federal government, came in and, basically determined that Lincoln Hills School was not run properly. And so as kind of a result of that, subsequent legislators decided that they want to end Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake and replace them with smaller institutions around the state, more regionally located. And there's a lot of been back and forth on it, but the legislatures say they want to do this and the governors say they want to do this, and then there's no
Money.
follow. So to this date, we still have Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake. They're both located in,
Irma.
which is in Lincoln County, north of Wausau. Out in the woods, literally. And it's been there since the seventies, I believe. Anyway, our goal is to not have any kids in Lincoln Hills or Copper Lake, and we are now back to zero on that number, which is great. And we try really hard to come up with alternatives to kids having to go to Lincoln Hills, Copper Lake, mainly because that year of prison doesn't really change their behavior. And so and it's also 15, no, not 15. It's, I forget what the current rate is.
Almost $1,000 a game.
Oh, it's worth
No,
it.
it's
It's like
Is it more than
that?
$13.95.
Yeah.
Is it $13.90?
$13.95
A
a
day.
day for a year. So,
behavior worse.
and they learn things from other kids who are there for other crimes. So, basically that number 0 is what we're striving to achieve. And if you can see our numbers average back to 2019, we've done a pretty damn good job, pretty darn good job of that. And except for last year, which was a rough year. So we're back down to 0 and hopefully Annette's not here right now, but, Annette and her teams really deserve a lot of credit for that. Below that is Child Welfare Division Residential Care Centers. And the one I always pick as an example is Rawhide. Because everybody in Wisconsin should have heard about Rawhide. Started with, Barton Cherry Star and back in the day. And so it's a residential center, which means it's not locked, but kids have to stay there for a year or two. They stay in cottages. They have, essentially, home parents, and they go to school there. They learn some on-the-job training skills, et cetera. And then the theory of that is that we can turn these people around and they'll come back and they'll be better than when they left. Unfortunately, the track record of RCCs isn't much better than state prison. So again, we try to avoid RCC placements, residential care center placements. Our numbers have been going up a little bit, but Annette already told us that that is the case because there are some kids that we haven't been able to figure out what the problems are, what the solutions are. And some of these kid numbers represent kids that we've had to place out of the state of Wisconsin, unfortunately, because no center in the state of Wisconsin would accept them. So we work really hard on trying to get kids back here and back home. And so every month, Annette is sending out people out of state to try to see what's going on out there, try to get their families kind of prepared to get them back. And so the goal is to try to get these kids back within months, not years. And we've been doing a very good job up until the last couple of years where it's been much more challenging. And everybody says the kids' issues are getting more complex, more difficult. It's a combination of mental illness, substance use, abuse, neglect, intellectual deficits and impairments, and violence. And running away. So you get a combination of any of these things or all of them in one person, and you can see how challenging it is to try to keep them in an unlocked place for very long. So, but we still have low numbers compared to other counties our size. We're like a half to a third less in terms of our numbers of kids placed up. So, it looks bad when we look at it right now, but and obviously it's higher than it's been in the last couple of years. But these numbers fluctuate too. They're gonna come up, they're gonna go up and down throughout the year. So I'm not particularly on by it.
I asked a question at Lincoln Hills, but.
Yeah.
See if I remember right in the last 2 years. There was a one time a fellow was going to Lincoln Hills and we put like 6 months worth of allocation because we didn't know so he's not there anymore. He's gone.
Nope, yeah, he's up there. He's up.
How did do you know what happened or?
He's in a lesser setting.
security, yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, we're still serving him. We're just not.
Because I know we put money, we were thinking maybe it's gonna be a year,
Yeah.
but I think it must be gone.
We budget for only about a quarter of a year now, for a placement. And so if it goes beyond that, then we have to go back or we have to adjust it from another account. Janet helps us with that.
But the net team, we're targeting him out
Okay.
of a different place.
Yeah.
Yes, I was wondering where you meant, so.
He's just in a lesser level service, but
But he's still not.
most of the kids in this level of intensity are probably gonna be with us for several years. But we try to get him back to the community and back home whenever possible. Still have services for them.
No, it's mine.
Yeah.
My wife,
Page two,
client.
page 2 of 4.
Yes, wow.
PH stands for Behavioral Health Division. Specialty Hospitals for Adults is the top line. You can see that one's going in the wrong direction.
6.5.
That one's going in the wrong direction too. But, I know that Heather.
Is that
will-
yours?
Down next month.
Heather says it's going down next month.
Okay.
So that's
You
good.
gonna break them out?
We already have.
We already have data that says they have been down in March. We just don't have the confirmation yet for you until that, because they're always 2 months behind because of the way
Oh, okay.
the system works in reporting. So we know that March is down. We just don't have the detail to prove that at this point. So that's good. And we always know too that really throughout the year, this particular graph will go up and down. It just will go up and down a lot because we never know. And the bottom line is kids in specialty hospitals. And that number is
Way down.
pretty good. Pretty good there. So nothing to complain about. All right, page 3. Page 3, again, the lines are looking pretty stable. CW division, Child Welfare Division, Secure Detention, that's our juvenile jail. That's in Fond du Lac. And that's a more 1 to 30 day kind of placement, duration. And we do have contract that's there in Fond du Lac and we're keeping the number down. So that's good.
Yep.
Child Welfare Division Foster Care, those are our total number of kids in foster care placement, meaning, foster care is the service done by, adults who don't know the children, but they are professional foster parents. And so therefore, it's about 43. We've had it, when I got here in 2007, we probably had 150 kids in foster care at that time. Maybe sometimes upwards of 200. So, I mean, our numbers are pretty darn good statewide. The last page.
One quick question again. And I noticed that, all the other ones, we have a budgeted line, but we don't have on that. Do we just not budget the top one?
No, it's,
Oh,
you want me to
sorry.
take that one? It's because we have these contracted beds, and that's for Fond du Lac specifically, but occasionally we have to use other, places as well.
Okay.
And it kind of makes it more difficult to have a straight line. That,
This one, we've got to reserve a certain number and.
Yeah, we
if
always
use
have-
them, they can rent them out or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, so we have four beds at Bondi.
Okay.
If we don't use them all, they have the ability to, issue them to other people, but then they would give us they would do some, I mean, there's some things that, whatever it is that they do to compensate us. And if we have more kids than four at a given time, they will also, if they have space, they'll also give us,
Another bed.
more space. So anyway, it's what you have to do with county jail, because it's essentially a county jail for juveniles. And we don't have one in Oshkosh. We never had one in Oshkosh. And so we used to contract with Gamey or Appleton. They stopped, and so then we're now contracting. Because it's the closest location. So if parents want to go visit them, it is a half-hour drive, but still they can, it's not 2 hours away.
We put some money toward it, we budget something, right? I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't keep track of it, right?
Right, yeah,
You
you
gotta pay
have
for
4
it
beds
somewhere,
per month.
right?
And that line is not the financial budget, it's the average daily population, so it's the number of kids placed. Is what that red line is.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, and the last page 4 is kinship care placements, which are when kids have to be placed out of their home, they're going to a member of their kin, and families. So you can see that our numbers there, have been pretty stable over the last 4 years. And the new part that's just passed and the governor just signed is that now we'll be able to use like kin. So in the future, if a child had a really strong relationship with a neighbor and the parent is okay with them going to the neighbor's house because maybe the neighbor has children the same age and maybe they play over there a lot. And the parent really feels like, I'm okay with having my child placed with my neighbor, we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to review them, make sure everything's okay there, and they will be able to receive kinship care payments if you're a neighbor, which that will be a great asset for helping us expand the number of eligible adults that could have kids, if that's the need, if they need to place their kids. So we've never had that before in the state of Wisconsin, but they just approved that. We think that's gonna be a great additional.
You'll still fall under the kinship care when we look at the grant? Will it still fall under the kinship
Yeah,
care?
it'll fall under kinship care payments. They can also, the neighbor could also then go into being a licensed foster care.
Okay,
And so then if they qualify for that, and they're taking care of their neighbor's child, then they could get an enhanced payment through foster care. So we're always talking with kinship placement folks. Do you want to become a registered foster parent with the county? If so, we'll try to get you registered as a regular foster parent. If you can do that, then we can use them in future times when we need a foster as well. So it's kind of helps with our recruitment of new foster parents.
How many other states have that? Legislation. It's a great thing.
Yeah, like Ken, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Curious of one of the leaders in that, or?
I'm guessing we're not the first,
Right.
but I don't know how common it is.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Kids visit kids and they hang out together.
The legislature passed it almost unanimously, and then the governor signed it just a couple weeks.
So these numbers will probably go up if we get, with that
So
helping us,
kinship
right?
care numbers would likely go up.
Oh, yeah.
And then.
Good.
And
again,
foster.
Foster them would go down.
Foster might go down.
This will go down, okay, that's,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good
Because the
stuff.
kids will be with somebody that we know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we never want to take kids away from their parents if we can help. But if we have to, we'd rather have the kids go to somebody that they know
That they feel
rather than to go to a
comfortable with, yeah.
scary new environment with new foster parents that they don't know, maybe in a different part of town or in a different town. So think about how hard that transition would be if they're in school. And let's say they're here in Oshkosh, but now they have to go to a foster parent that's in Neenah. Now they have to start over at the Neenah district and in a new environment. I mean, that's gotta be, let's say you're 6, 7, 8 years old. Very scary, very scary. So,
Yeah, I want to, for a minute, go back to security tension.
sure.
When we first got in business with Fond du Lac,
Yeah.
there was a discussion at that time of who should pay to take the child down there. If it was picked up in Menasha or, you know, some township or something, there was some talk about that.
Yeah, there was
How did
some,
that get resolved?
we went to talk to every department, every law enforcement department, we explained the whole thing. They backed away from having a problem with it. We try to work it out as much as we can that we can transport, so we don't burden them with every transport, but sometimes they have to make that transport. And I haven't heard anything since we resolved it that first year. We went and talked.
No, that was a big thing at the beginning anyway.
Yeah,
They thought
yeah.
the county should do it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know, they backed down and I think we said, let's see how often it happens, track your costs. Didn't turn out to be that much. So, the law enforcement doesn't have it.
What's going on with Harrison Street? How many kids are there and Green Acres?
Okay, Harrison Street, we are licensed for up to 8. Harrison Street is our shelter care for kids. So, if they're there, they're usually there for just a few days at a time. And it fluctuates anywhere between like 4 and 8 at any time. I don't know what it is today. If Annette were here, she could tell you what it is today. That's going great. Those are our own staff. Staffing Harrison Street Shelter Care. We own that building and we have the staff that staffs. So we're operational and it's running. Now Green Acres, what's the acres? What's the place up in?
The Nina,
I think it's Green Acres.
Yeah.
Green Acres?
Green
Am I
Acres?
right? Green Acres?
Yep.
Okay, we own the building.
Just bought it.
And it was being run at the time that you all agreed to purchase it for the county. It was being run for us by Family Services, who just a couple months later said, we're out. That was a total surprise. And we had to move quickly. I think that was last November that happened. And Annette worked quickly. We had 4 kids in that placement in November. Annette was able to place them all as close as possible to us, but some of the kids one's in, I think, in, not the Wausau area, but Stevens Point area. I don't know where their kids are. Anyway, we've working with another company, a new company. And they are right now in the process of their final licensure with the state, because it takes 6 months to work through the licensing process with the state, even though it's our building. It's their company. They do this in other counties, but they haven't been here before, so they had to be licensed. So I think we're in the final month or so of that licensure. And then they're gonna be staffing up and we're gonna be operational by June 1st. And then we're gonna bring all the kids that we have all placed. Bring them back. And they will be able to serve up to 8 kids. And boys and girls.
Yeah. Girls, yeah.
Because the old company was not willing to budge on taking girls. And the new company said, no, we already do it. We do it in Chippewa Falls. We do it in Wausau. We do it in Stevens Point. We're gonna do boys and girls. So there will be boys and girls.
Thank you. Tell Annette, thank you.
Yes.
And it will not be staffed by our people, unless this next company drops the ball, in which case I will probably be recommending. I don't know if Renee wants to hear this. So probably we will need to have our own staff. If this new company drops the ball, we don't have any other options. So, and I did tell the county board, you all remember on the county board, that I was saying we don't need to add county staff. Because at the time that we were purchasing it, we had a solid contract with Family Services out of Green Bay. And then they subsequently just dropped out in November. So we are doing our best to get operational attention.
Ralph?
Just an update back on Harrison. We okayed her at one time for repairs to be done. Have they ever been started or are they?
So facilities have, done a lot of different things to the building, more minor things. I don't think there's anything right now that I can remember that needs to be.
That was like the roof in the garage.
Yes, but the roof, when the roof is showing that it needs to be done, and Mike Elder said he didn't think that the roof needed immediate attention. There were some repairs to the garage. I think there's some repairs to the garage that are gonna be, the parking lot's eventually gonna need to be repaved.
Because I remember there was the amount we paid minus the repairs. And then, but I didn't know if it got mixed up in all the county repairs of everything or if it's.
Well, it was evaluated along with all of the other county buildings for the county evaluation report that you received. So it's part of the overall county buildings. But, I mean, they're making repairs as they need to.
Anything else? Huh?
That's it on my report.
In, financial, Janet.
Okay, so to let you know, our regular reports will be getting in next month when we have first quarter information. So I thought I would just take a few minutes today to talk about our Medicaid revenue because it is a significant revenue source for our department, and we kind of go around MA a lot. So just to delve into that a little bit, just kind of for your information. So as you probably know, many of our clients are on medical assistance. And with Ann's help, we kind of looked at some of the numbers, and it looks like over the past 5 years, the number of Winnebago County people who are enrolled in medical assistance healthcare is going up about 9% each year. And we looked at our number of claims being submitted and our revenue is going up about 13% each year. So when you look at the trend line for both of those, they're going in an upward direction. Last year in 2023, we filed 12,974 claims for Medicaid. And that's about a third of all the claims we do submit for reimbursement for the services we provide. Medical assistance revenue accounts for about 14% of our total department revenue. So it's a big source of revenue. In 2023, $4 million. On the back of that sheet, it kind of looks at four of our programs that we bill with medical assistance for. The bottom two, CST, which is Community Services Program, core program, and CCS, which is Comprehensive Community Services. A person has to be enrolled in medical assistance to receive those services, and those are both in behavioral health. The CCS program is 100% reimbursable for medical assistance. So that's a program, if we do have eligible clients, we certainly try to maximize the use of that program. Crisis, obviously anybody, regardless of income limits or whether or not they're on MA, can certainly avail themselves of those services. So that's another one we do bill MA for. And then our psychotherapy services, we also bill. That does have some income requirements. Those two programs, we will also bill commercial insurance. But again, a lot of our clients are on medical assistance. So that's in a nutshell, very quickly, our MA revenue, but it is going up. And so when we're budgeting for next year, that's certainly something we'll be looking at to see if that's something that will be able to help us offset some of our increasing costs.
So, you know, I think what I'd like to add to that is the federal funds to the state to us are pretty flat from year to year. They stay this, they're maintained, they're not going up incrementally in any way, shape, or form. State funds directly to us aren't going up. They're maintaining at a certain level. So you have two flat sources of income, not going up, not going down. And then basically levy, which again has to be limited by the cost constraints that you all know. So when typically I meet early in the year with the executive, basically the rule is that because we can increase our revenues under Medicaid as one source, that we need to keep our budget to no cost increases and include salary and fringe increases for my department. So these are one of the things that we have that's kind of unique to us in the budgeting process, because we have the ability to raise revenues like Medicaid, kind of cover some of those. So what we try to do is create a budget initially that says we're not going to add any new tax levy burden to Winnebago. And this marching order has been given to me since I've gotten here in 2000. So pretty much we start with, can you do it all that you're doing, Bill, with the same That, I'm like, okay, well, we'll try, okay? And so you can see that part of this, and what I wanted to illustrate by mentioning this, is that Janet's talking about, well, because our Medicaid is increasing at a certain rate, this is really helping us try to stay within that marching order. It isn't the only thing, but certainly thing that we're kind of coming to count on. The question that we all have though, is that how long does this last going up in this kind of a fashion? And really, this one also represents a good chunk of this is pandemic related. And so some of the Medicaid funding during the pandemic was actually enhanced because of the pandemic. And so what Janet is concerned about, which I'm also concerned about, is what happens in 2025 when the enhanced rates disappear, and what does it actually look? What does our Medicaid rate actually look in 25? Am I saying that correctly, Janet? Would you agree?
Yeah, 2025 is the year we're
not worried about.
Yeah, but we won't know what 2025 looks like until we actually are through 2025. So building a budget for 2025 is actually, we think, even more challenging than building a budget for.
So that's the budget that you will be preparing starting
Yeah,
in
so,
June, July.
so the October meeting that those of you who are gonna be on county board are gonna be listed, is gonna be with some greater approximations of what we think we might get, that we won't know until we actually go through. But we're still gonna get the same marching orders, almost,
Yeah.
because we will still have the same marching orders as we have had.
Yeah, I'd like to know how, briefly, how the system operates. Let's say I'm the client and I got insurance. And I get services, and then my insurance only pays for part of the service. How does it go from there on? You bill me again, or how do you get the balance?
When you come in as a new client, you have a financial assessment, which is then also done every year. And we determine your ability to pay. So you would be billed up to your ability to pay. So if we determine that you can afford $10 a month, you would never be charged more than $10 a month, regardless of what your insurance is.
So there's a formula that the state of Wisconsin assigns us that says, here's your pay, here's how many people you have as dependents. There's a number that we basically can't charge you more than that amount, right?
Yeah, it's a chart that comes out every year that we load into our electronic health record, which generates all of our billing. And it's also where we put in this financial information to calculate your ability to pay.
Again, because are you ever able to go after the insurance company? I suppose not.
And especially mental health services, it's not great, what we get from the virtual insurance.
So we put it on I'm sure it was the same way when you were here, we put it on because there was some things you did for foster care, payments, you charged the folks, and so we put it on the books, we asked them to keep paying on it. After a certain amount of time, if there's still some left, we can actually refer it to collections, or we eventually end up writing it off after.
10 years after their last date of service with us. That's per state statute.
But then we meaning the client, never gets involved between the insurance carrier and the client. If we don't try to find out if the insurance is being fair to the client.
Not generally, occasionally we'll have a client who knows really having some difficulties and moving involved. I really remember one.
We don't have that response.
And we do tell people up front, like, if they're voluntary service, it's totally up to them whether they want to engage with us or not. But we're typically best deal around, because if they went to the private sector would hold them responsible for every dollar past what their insurance doesn't cover. And we have the state formula that we have to go by, which is generally a little bit easier on their pocket. Because we're not trying to create a financial crisis on top of every other crisis they have. That's not our goal. But at the same time, we have to treat people according to the rules.
Right, and if somebody is on medical assistance, don't do the financial assessment, they're automatically determined to have a zero ability to pay.
That's the rule of Medicaid.
That's, yeah, the HS one.
So it's kind of it's all set for us. We don't really make separate rules ourselves. We just follow the rules.
You can write it off some, but it'd take 10 years to write it off.
Years from the last date of service.
Yeah.
Sure, what's happening with priority-based budgeting?
That one I can't.
It's not on there yet.
No, we
That
can't,
would have to be put on for another month. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I can't.
can't talk about it, no.
I can't talk about it. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's a topic that's not on.
That's not on the agenda.
Julie,
Ah.
will you add it for next month, please?
I just have a question related to your Medicaid revenue report here. This, this line,
The dark line or the dotted line?
either one, it
Okay.
doesn't matter,
Okay.
is not necessarily, I don't know the right words, but it doesn't track with the number of people who are on medical assistance in Winnebago County.
Correct. They're both, you know, an upward trajectory, but it's 9% is the amount of people that are going up and our revenue is going up 15%. Heather and I work very closely together with staff to make sure that we are maximizing our billing to the greatest extent possible. And I think in the past couple of years, we've really made some strides with staff.
So am I hearing you say that year over year, there's a 9% increase in the number of people in the county who receive?
For the past 5 years, that's been the average for healthcare.
Okay.
Medical assistance.
One of the nice things that we have here too is because we're all under one roof. If we have an individual that just gets one signature or one piece of paper signed, and we can fast track them so that they can come in services and we can see that claim. Team effort. to make
Okay,
sure
so if
that-
someone comes in for services, not enrolled,
Yep.
you have the ability to. enroll them.
Right, we'll get an email or a call saying, hey, this person says they don't know why. They're bad period. Look at it, we'll say, we need this one thing.
Yeah.
And
Do we know what percentage of people in BH have, in behavioral health have, medical assistance? Do you have a percentage on that?
I don't know, but I would assume very high. I don't know the actual. I won't say it.
Yes, off the top.
Private sector serve a percentage of Medicaid clients, but they're not looking for Medicaid clients. They prefer people that have other types of insurance. And so that leaves a gap, and that's why I think, when Chad's talking about 85% of the people who come here have Medicaid is because they probably can't find the service. So
Yep. And Renee, recruitment, how we doing?
Just quick update. We're gaining on it a little bit. So as of today, there are 10 youth services positions posted, 2 part-time paraprofessional positions, 1 in admin and 1 in the ADRC. The 4 therapists in behavioral health that we've been talking about month after month. And then also 4 social work positions in child welfare. Now those, they're not necessarily the same spots, but as Annette or that division hires people, they also have people moving. So it tends to be, refillable. But also wanted, speaking of recruitment and new hires, I wanted to welcome Julie Kotajarvi. Pam retired last Wednesday. Julie was able to spend a few days with her, before Pam's last day. So I'm Nancy here on standby, because obviously this is Julie's first meeting and, but welcome her, of course. That's all I have for you today.
Did you read all that back to us? So tough.
Any on recruitment? Seeing none? Bill?
okay, I have Wix updates. So, WICSA is Wisconsin County Human Service Association. That is an association of all of us as counties, human services boards and directors. It's the major advocacy agency for getting the legislature to hopefully change some things that would be in the benefit of human services statewide. And I am currently serving as its president. What Rich is working on right now, well, first of all, there is going to be the upcoming spring conference, which is happening at the end of April. It's going to be in Wausau. And I know some of you signed up and some of you do not have, and we certainly always welcome people to come, and if you want to go at the last minute, just let us know. So we can do. Anyway, what we are working on at WICSA is always a legislative strategy on how to get things in the budget that aren't there yet, how to get things out of the system that we see as being detrimental. And this year, we got some tips that we didn't have before, and that was that if we want to make an impact on the biennial budget, which right now, you know, that we're in a biennial budget in the state, they go by 2-year budgets. So they're in the 23 to 25 budget cycle. So right in the middle of that. But what we didn't know is how soon they start working on their next biennial budget. And the answer is right now. And so we always would kind of, by this fall, we'd kind of be getting around to talking to the state about what it is that we want to see be changed in our favor. And we now recognize that's way too late. So the tip we got was, if we can get our asks as counties, plural, to the state by May, then we might have a shot at getting them to put it in their budgets, and then go to the governor and show the governor's budget, and then hopefully would make its way to the legislature by next spring. So that's what we're doing. We're in the process of prioritizing the things that we really want to see happen. And as it has it, something we talked about today is on the horizon. So Janet had just showed you this breakdown between the programs, and she identified CCS, or Comprehensive Community Services, as 100% funded. And you can see the number there of the 100% funded as being in the millions that we build, right? These other 3 programs are not 100%. But in our last biennial budget request, we wanted crisis and community support program. We requested that they make it 100% funded. So that was our ask. And the governor's budget contained 100% for CSP, but didn't contain 100% for crisis. And we want them both. So basically, we are going to be making it very plain to the governor's office next month, or month and a half from now, that's what we want to see. We want to see these 2 additional programs be 100%, which will be of great benefit to every county in the state from a financial standpoint, and will make those programs better. Because with 100% crisis funding, we're going to do more mobile crisis. We're going to actually try to send crisis workers out more into the community as the crises are happening. We do some of it now. We can't do it all. Can't do it at multiple times a day or night. We can't do it on weekends as frequent. We can't do it for as many people. So we want 100% funding for crisis. We want 100% funding for community support programs, which are programs to serve the people who have chronic and persistent illness. So that's going to be one of our top asks. We're going to have some other asks, which haven't determined which ones we're going to pick, but I know these 2 in particular we're going to focus on. And then another piece of information we got was that we have to go politic with the governor's office in the fall. We've never done that before because we assumed that the departments would advocate for us with the governor. They said, no, in fact, we don't. You have to go to the governor's office. You have to advocate for what you want the governor to do. Even though we might put it in our budget, we can't really advocate for it. You have to do that separately. So now we as WICSA in the fall will be going to the governor's office for the first time and basically pushing our agenda at the governor's office level. Hopefully then it shows up in the governor's budget. Then we go advocate, as all of you know, next April, there'll be another, Human Services Day at the Capitol.
I was just gonna say,
And then we will be going down there to lobby our legislators for putting this stuff in the biennial budget for June of 25 to 27. So, so now we've got some tips and some hints. And so now Wix is gonna try to capitalize on those and get there faster. Hopefully with a better outcome. So that's it in a nutshell. What, and I'm gonna be presiding over the point that leads up until December 31st of 24. And then my term as president ends. And then the vice president, who's Matt Stripmatter, my counterpart in Sheboygan County, will be president for the next 2 years. And so Matt right now is under me as vice president. So hopefully this will continue now for the next couple of sessions. We'll get a jump on it. So part of our role in WICSA is advocacy to try to know what we need as counties. And budget is a big part of that. And the other big piece that we do at WICSA is try to meet with the departments and try to keep regulations that really are kind of hampering us from doing our work, try to keep those to a minimum and try to put in things that we really need. So we do all that kind of advocacy. And that's what's going on at WICSA.
so even though they're telling us we have to have stuff to them by May, we're still not gonna have a human services day at Capitol for next April.
Right, but if you think about it, it's what are we gonna do at different points? So we gotta get our stuff in May, we gotta politic with the governor's office in
Fall.
October,
Yeah.
and then we gotta be there in April
April.
to get to our legislators.
Even though we gotta
So
get
now we got a three-pronged approach,
three-pronged.
where we had a one-prong approach
Right.
before, now we're gonna have three-pronged approach.
But you're still not gonna do a human services day until next April.
Next week,
Okay.
not this year, because nobody's down in Madison right now.
Yeah.
Legislators are,
All right, right,
they're done,
Gee, I wonder why.
yeah.
and that's it for me.
Anything else for Bill on that subject? Then, board members report. Well, I'm gonna start out because I wanna thank all you guys for the last 2 years. Been really great, working with all you guys last 2 years. I mean, we know that election's tomorrow, so some of us might be here, some of us won't be here. We know for sure Becky won't be here, and I'm grateful for you for all your help in the last couple of years. But, yeah, it's been great, working with you.
Good luck to everyone.
Good luck to everybody, yeah, in the elections. Mark? Okay. All right, Kay?
Well, I kind of want to do the same thing. Thank you all for being so gracious and letting me come into this late. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've learned so much. I've discovered that my listening ears have been more turned on by being with all of you. So I thank you very much.
Ralph?
Well, I got a list here. Before, no, anyway, no, thank you again. It was really interesting 2 years. We learned a lot. Answered a lot of questions, which is good, and you learn a lot. I still say this, anyone running or any citizen should get involved because there's a lot of stuff you have no idea what goes on and happens. You be a citizen, get in there, even if you're on the board and don't get elected, your experience can come back, varying that stuff. So, I mean, it's worth it as I knock on doors and talk to different people. You have no idea who we are, what we do, and it's just, we need to get out there and get more people on, knowing what's going on, and just ask questions. And that's the thing I learned is I didn't ask questions at the beginning, I just kind of sat there and listened to everything, but you need to ask questions, you have to get involved with a lot of stuff, you have to ask, go to these meetings, go to different events to find out what's going on. If you don't, you miss out, you're voting on stuff that you really don't know. And I think it's important, but you guys make it work, you guys make the whole thing work. I'm still gonna always be, if I'm here again later, to make sure that as much money stays here and it helps them, all the stuff we got. I'm still not getting off that high horse I was on at the beginning. I'm still there that we need to keep this going. And you can see from the list, things are growing. I mean, more things are happening. We're getting more responsibility. It does cost money and it's for the people. Appreciate it again. So.
Ed, I know you were on short, but,
Yeah, I'm the rookie of the group.
thank you for your input so far, yeah.
3 months,
Yeah.
3.5 months, yay. I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to sit with so many people with so many diverse opinions and ideas and thoughts. Bill's has shared a wealth of, information to me. Harry has done the same thing, and then, I forget who I talked to in the office quite a bit, answering all my questions, never questioning why I'm asking, other than just saying, hey, I'm a supervisor, I have a question, and he goes, well, it's been a great learning experience. I hope the election goes in my favor. So I could come back and harass all of you next week.
Thank you. Chris?
Nothing this month. Good luck to all of you running.
All right, Becky?
Thank you all. It's been an honor serving with you, and I always knew Winnebago County had a great human services department, but now I know for real that all of you do great work, and so thank you for that. It's Winnebago County is lucky to have you. And so keep up the good work, and
Good luck to you.
I'll think of you. May, whatever. Actually, if your date changes, but yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Aaron?
Well, I don't have anything to report except that I have enjoyed, I've been on this committee almost 8 years, and I've really enjoyed learning everything from Bill and the staff. Glad I've been doing it and hope I continue to do it, but we'll see on Tuesday. So thanks to everyone, all that you've done for the citizens, the vulnerable citizens of our county. This is the greatest department in the county. I truly believe that.
Harold?
Mr. Chair, I have no.
Yeah. I'll be picking you up in April. All right. Seeing nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn. There's a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move to adjourn. Thank you.
All right. Oh, you got mine?
I'll give you a call. I think that's keep it. I'll give you a call, pick you up, like probably 9 o'clock or something. Yeah, Wednesday morning, start to lunch at noon. Yeah. All right. I
Well, Chris was there to yell at me.
WCA that events that they would like to have.
It was Easter and I didn't.
This is an author that you might find really, really